Hey everybody, Patty Ann here. Hey, Tara in one of the groups I'm in had asked a question like, she said she's new to Embrilliance and can this be done in Essentials or can someone tell me which level would be needed? Now what I used was Stitch Artist level 3 to make my demonstration that I'm going to show you today. So let's go to Embrilliance and I'll show you. Okay, here we are in Embrilliance and this just shows an example of another font that I used. Although this doesn't look much like the one Tara used, so I'm not going to save this one. And I'll just say no. And this is the one where the font looks more like the one that they were using in the page that I was looking at on Facebook. So I'll just group this together. I'll hit Control G and that groups it so that when I try to move it, it stays together like that. And I'll just move it off to the side. So what I did was I downloaded a font that I thought sort of looked like this. Oh, I can't think what the name of it is right offhand. Oh, well, anyway, I'll show you in just a sec. So what I did first was I went to Stitch Artist right here, with the Create button, and I came over here to the True Type font. That's what I'm going to use. Once that pops open, aha, it came in at the same font that I used. It's called Luckily. I'll have a link for you down below. If you'd like to look for it or use my link, that'd be great. I also have links for Stitch Artist down below, anything in Brilliance that you want, along with a code for an extra 10% off. So make sure you grab that while it's still valid. All right, anyway, so I'm going to type in the word teacher. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this be, rather than normal, I'm going to make it be extra bold. And if for some reason it pops back to dream state, so I am going to go back again and change it to way down here, luckily, there it is. And I'll say okay. And so it comes in like this, and I'm going to stretch it larger so that we can see it, and it's just a nice size for maybe she's putting it on a bag or something. So the next thing I'm going to do after I bring this in is, this is why I use Stitch Artist level 3. I'm going to come up here to this button right here that says Logical Union. I'm going to click on the Union button. And it really doesn't look like anything happened. However, if you look over here in the Objects panel, you'll notice way at the bottom of the objects, there's this new object here that's called Union. And that's basically the only one I want to save. So I'm going to highlight all of these. And delete. And so what we're left with now is that unioned thing. And now what I'm going to do after I union them, I'm going to change this so that it is run stitches. Right now, it's not run stitches. It's really a big gobbledygooky mess. But if I click on run, it still looks bad, but when I click off, it doesn't look so bad. If those nodes were really a problem, we could go ahead and really scroll in on this and delete some of them by double clicking, and that deletes some. According to Brian from Embrilliance, this is right now the best way that you can do this because they haven't come up with a workaround to get rid of all these crazy nodes that you really don't need. But anyway, we're going to continue on. I haven't done my stitch out yet, so it will be interesting to see if it's a problem. Here's one that looks a little icky to me. I'm going to double click here and maybe reduce or get rid of one of those nodes, and that got rid of that mess. Looks like there's a little extra stuff going on right in here. Double click to get rid of one of those. But as I said, you don't really have to do this, I don't think, but I haven't done the stitch out yet. There's one more spot that looks a little crummy to me, and this is A right here. I'll scroll in and go ahead and click on these and maybe double click to get rid of a node or two, and that looks better. So now I can scroll back out. I could do the same thing with the H and so on to clean it up, but this is good for me. So the next thing I'm going to do is, oh, this one right here is my first one. Why don't I delete this one so it doesn't confuse us? I'm going to select it and hit delete on my keyboard. So now all we have is this one that we're working on. Okay, so you can see over here in the objects panel, there's one object. We're going to go ahead and duplicate this one. So I'm going to click on it, come up here to copy, and then paste. And it pasted another one right below it, which is perfect. Okay, now we're going to work, oh, let's move that one down a bit. Oops, I got to grab, there we go. And we're going to work on this top one first, so I highlighted it. And I'm going to change this into an applique. Now to change something into an applique, I'm going to come up here to create mode or stitch artist. And this thing right here is the applique button. It looks like a blanket stitch that a lot of times you put on appliques. So I'm going to click on that and it made it an applique right off the bat. Now what I can do is come over here and click on it and then make sure that I'm looking at the applique properties down here. And for my border, I want to make sure I have none. And I want to have a fabric preview. I'm going to pre-cut this out so I don't have to cut around these little letters with my scissors. I'm going to do it with my portrait or my Cricut machine. I want the position stitching to show up and the material. Okay, so I'm going to click off that now. And let's just do a little something, come up here to the stitch simulator and see how that's going to work. So the first color is, see the stitches running? That's the placement stitch. That's showing me exactly where to place my pre-cut fabric. After that is done, it's going to do the tack down stitch. So this is tacking down my pre-cut fabric. And then this last bit down here is for the next one that we're not working on yet. So let's get out of this stitch simulator by clicking back on the create mode. And now we're going to work on this second one. But if you'll remember seeing the picture, you can see that the back part is bigger, the offset of it, the applique part. Okay, so what I'm going to need to do is to inflate this. So I'm going to click on it to select it, or I could click on it over here in the objects panel. And then again in Stitch Artist Level 3, I'm going to come up to this button on the right, and it says Inflate Objects. Now, be sure to inflate the outline, not the holes. I'm going to inflate the outline by about 6. You know, it's going to be whatever you like. And I'm going to say remove holes. And I'll say OK. So there we have our new outline that's going to be an applique. So now I'm going to click on the bottom one again. And I'm going to change it into an applique by coming up here to Stitch Artist or Create Mode. And I'm going to change it to an applique. And again, I'll look over here in the Properties panel and make sure that the fabric preview is on, the position and the material are all on. And if you had any little circles that were left here, you can always delete them. Usually I do. I must have done something right this time or held my mouth just right because there weren't any. But now what I would do is click on this applique and just bring it up here behind. I don't like that because I don't want all that stitching or the fabric, this is a fabric replication, to be on top of my text. So I'm going to take this top one, right click on it and say move last, or I could click on it and simply drag it down below this one, and there it is last. So now I can go ahead and grab all of these and come up here, turn off create, and do center design in hoop. And I think I probably still want to center this guy right in here. So whoopsie daisy. So I'm going to click on this and then move it so it's centered nicely like that. Okay, I haven't used different colors, so it's hard to tell exactly what this is. But if I change this, let's click on the second one and change the applique position color to that pretty bluish color. Okay, there we go. So now you can get an idea of what it's going to look like. We can change this applique position to a different color as well. Maybe we want to make it look a little bit pretty. So I'm looking for a pretty green. This will work. It's a little dark maybe, huh? There we go. I don't like that. Okay, I really shouldn't be so picky because these are just the colors that show up on my screen. It really doesn't have anything to do with what's going to show up when you stitch it out. That is determined obviously by the colors of the threads that you pick. So I need to quit playing with this. But I just can't help myself. All right, anyway, let's say okay and leave it alone. So let's see how this is going to stitch out now. Let's see if it's going to be what was requested. Let's scroll in a little bit so you can really see it and come up to the stitch simulator. So the first thing it's going to do is going to run this placement stitch so we know where to put the fabric for the backmost piece. Okay. Once that's done, it changes colors right here. And at that time, we would put down our fabric and do this stitching to hold it into place. And on this sample, all it had was a run stitch. After that is done, it's going to stop again. It's going to do a placement stitch, and it's hard to see that because of the coloring I chose, but it's just the placement stitch for the pre-cut fabric. And then it's going to do the tack down for that fabric. Now I like to use Steam a Seam Light too for my pieces that I'm going to use for applique because I love being able to iron them on, just to tack them into place and not have to worry about them moving. So here it's doing the final tack down of the item. So I hope this is what was requested. Like I said, try this yourself, change to different colors so you can see them more clearly yourself. And let me know how it works out for you. I'm going to go do a stitch out right now and I'll show you how it works. Hopefully, my fingers are crossed that the stitch out is going to work. So I'll be back to show you the end results. Okay, this screen right here just shows how I prepare the fabric to get ready. I'm using Batik for the wording, and I use Terial Magic, which I heat set with my iron. It makes the fabric like paper almost. And I'm using Steam a Seam 2 Light on the back of the fabric as well. This is just a shot of the first placement stitch being stitched out. This is a photo of how nicely the wording cut out after I used that process that I showed you in the first slide. The Steam a Seam 2 Light, the Terial Magic, and using Batik fabric, all made for a win. Okay, well, you can see that this worked pretty well. There's a few things that I would change if I was doing this tutorial again for you. I would finish with a satin stitch around these letters. Also, I would probably make this backing piece larger, the offset or the inflated much more if I was using something that looked quite a bit different like this. And then perhaps do a satin stitch around here as well. But all in all, it turned out pretty well. I did do this bag and I had to be careful because I had to go around this twice because I didn't like just like the single stitch. So the second time I went around, one of these handles got stuck on the arm and it threw off the registration a little bit. So you might want to pin these out of the way so you don't have a problem with that. But all in all, I'm pretty satisfied with it. I think it turned out pretty cute. And, you know, for a bag this size too, I'd probably make it larger. So, but that's it. It turned out pretty well. And yes, indeed, Stitch Artist Level 3, you can do this and more. Thanks again for joining me. I hope you liked this tutorial and you learned from it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified when I go live. Again, I have the links down below, lots of links down below. If you use any of them, that helps support Patty Ann's Place. And I really appreciate it. And I love seeing questions because this question prompted me to do this. So thanks again, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.